lady wants to give me wrong left-hand card. What do you charge?
Here's my attempt at setting up a table. Nobody's buying The Sopranos, but it's bringing them over. So, I don't know what happened here to the arm. So what did happen with your arm?
I was playing this video game, and it was like where you kick the soccer ball type of thing, and I kicked the soccer ball, and I fell, and I broke my wrist.
Oh boy, sort of like in Meet the Parents, like when they were in the water. Remember, did you see Meet the Parents? With Robert De Niro and those guys, and he like hits her with the volleyball in the face and everything.
Yes.
That's the way that stuff happens. But yeah, we're here, and my girlfriend will be really cool because we do her up in schoolgirl outfits all the time too. So, but yeah, we're just here, and we're going to hopefully maybe talk about using her on the Bum Olympics tape with you. So we'll see. Here she is. Can you twirl around for us? Just do a little twirl. Really beautiful. Bye.
Oblivion. And we had such a fellow, his name was Claude King, and he had a song called Wolverton Mountain. At the time, somebody had suggested another country and western singer, and we had him all but signed, and then I was approached by a number of people who said, careful of this guy, he's on drugs, he won't show up. I said, well, not on my movies. And we had to pass him up, but Claude King was nothing but cooperative throughout the shooting of that. We shot it in San Antonio. Motion Picture Laboratory. Most films are stored there. The negatives are kept in metal cans, and there are rows of them. It's almost like a science fiction picture of its own. And trying to find yours can be a terribly frustrating experience. If someone says, it's in there somewhere. And there are roughly 2,000 acres of movies, all half labeled. And sometimes the labels are wrong. And sometimes you'll have a 5-reel movie, and there are 2 of them there, and 2 of them are somewhere else. But this movie seems to have vanished from the laboratory. There's a fellow who is, I think, one of the nicest people in our business. His name is Mike Brainey, who owns Something Weird Video in Seattle. I see heads nodding, so you undoubtedly know who he is. He and Ken Kish and Mike in the back of the room. These are gentlemen, very rare. Treasure these people. They are a dying breed. But Mike has been on a search. He found a couple of movies that I thought had been gone forever. So I'm hoping that he will find Year of the Yahoo. He found, for example, Moonshine Mountain, but it was in a condition that he said was not worthy of replication. Because if you buy a video or a DVD, and it comes in looking scratched or like it's been soaked in beer, you're not happy. And 5 words that no distributor wants to hear. I want my money back. So until something surfaces, it may be that that thing stays in oblivion. But I never give up, because sometimes these films show up in the strangest places as they're demolishing an old theater, or in somebody's basement somewhere. Hope springs eternal. To answer your question in 10,000 words or more. Anybody else?
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
I got a question for you. On the DVD of 2000 Maniacs, and you said there was a scene where Connie was driving the car, and she was a pretty bad driver and drove it into a wall or something. Did that really happen? Because Connie's here.
No laughing. We didn't laugh then. It was a brand new Pontiac, as I remember.
Actually, we'll get to that while the film's playing,
Well, I'm
too.
just learning to drive.
You see, she didn't tell us that. On a movie,
Herschell.
well, now she apologizes.
I really do.
Yeah, 40 years later she apologized.
Yeah, God knows, I didn't mean it.
I didn't think you meant it. We had 2 cars that were donated, or I guess that's the word,
Classics.
for use, and we always used convertibles because it's easy to shoot in a convertible. You may wonder in movies why everybody drives a convertible. Well, you need fewer lights and you can get in there. And
That's cool.
So, yeah, Connie was driving one of the convertibles, and the plot line called for it. What were we going to do? I wasn't going to have the car towed, and there wasn't really a major accident. I think we only killed 4 people, but they needed it, and we needed their guts anyway for the effects. It was really next to nothing, but yeah, she did scrape a wall.
Yeah.
But you see, with Connie's beauty and her charm, nobody can ever accuse her of anything except being beautiful and charming.
One other question about Connie. On the Blood Feast and the 2000 Maniacs posters, rather than say Playboy Playmate Connie Mason, you said you read about her in Playboy. I mean, I'm just curious why the wording was like that. Do you have any idea, or was that just the exploitation people made
It's an
that?
exploitation technique, yeah. That's to avoid outraging those who felt at the time that Playboy was outside the order.
Okay, all right. So you read about her, okay.
Well, what are you going to do about her? Anybody who buys Playboy with a text, something wrong with him anyway.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes.
Any input on having one of the greatest bands of all time, the Misfits?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Any input on having one of the greatest bands, the Misfits, pay homage to you in the song Blood Feast?
Have one of the greatest fans pay homage to me.
Punk rock
the
band, the
whole.
Misfits wrote a song called Blood Feast, which was more or less a homage to you. I don't know if you've heard it.
I haven't heard the song. Is it singable?
Does it have a beat?
I assume it's not like stormy weather. I have no answer to the question. I don't know the song. But if you want to send me a CD, I'll play it, probably privately. Well, these things happen. I know there's a rock group in New York, in Detroit rather, that calls itself the Gore Girls. I find that very complimentary. Or else they have no imagination at all. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask Connie, I mean, in interviews, Mr. Lewis, you always act like your Gore films, you guys were kind of tongue-in-cheek and, you know, that you knew the stuff was kind of funny. But somebody who was there, I was going to ask, were they actually playing it very straight and they meant these to be very serious and sober?
Well, we thought we were being serious and telling the real story, and yet there was a lot of tongue-in-cheek without actually realizing it. We thought we were doing a Gone with the Wind, you know. I mean, it was just, it was a breakthrough movie because Herschell did the first gore movie in color. So it was awesome. It was very scary, you know, seeing the special effects that they used at the time that he created, and were very innovative, and it was just a great ride, great fun, and he was just an amazing director and friend, and I feel very lucky to win in the movie. And
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask Connie, I mean, in interviews, Mr. Lewis, you always act like your Gore films, you guys were kind of tongue-in-cheek and, you know, that you knew the stuff was kind of funny. But somebody who was there, I was going to ask, were they actually playing it very straight and they meant these to be very serious and sober?
well, we thought we were being serious and telling the real story, and yet there was a lot of tongue-in-cheek without actually realizing it. We thought we were doing a Gone with the Wind, you know. I mean, it was just, it was a breakthrough movie because Herschell did the first gore movie in color. So it was awesome. It was very scary, you know, seeing the special effects that they used at the time that he created, and were very innovative, and it was just a great ride, great fun, and he was just an amazing director and friend, and I feel very lucky to win in the movie, and in both movies, and picked to be in them. And he's a marvelous director. I mean, he's just makes you feel really comfortable and brings out the best in you. And I was, God knows, very young and inexperienced at the time, and so we've had many years to appreciate those two movies. And to remain friends all these years has been just a blessing. And when we did the movie, actually 2000 Maniacs, when Herschell said we were in St. Cloud, it was like a Twilight Zone, wasn't it?
Mhm.
I mean, it really was. It was just like everything was so old-fashioned, even the hotels.
Oh, yeah, it was a retirement village.
What?
It was a retirement village. And,
Yeah.
and when some people were asking us what we were doing there, we said, well, we're shooting an orange juice commercial. He is now in the real estate business.
Oh, boy.
Well, many scoundrels are.
Yeah.
Could be worse, he could be selling siding
Yeah.
or used cars. But he's in the real estate business, and he is somewhere near me, because I got a phone call from him
Oh, boy.
about 2 years ago, saying that he had heard we were going to make Blood Feast 2, and I told him at the time, you see, that was not firm. So I gave him the name of about 35 different people who had said, let's make Blood Feast 2. When we actually made Blood Feast 2, there was no role. That is, there was no reprise for Fuad Ramses. Instead, we had Fuad Ramses III,
Wow.
his grandson, who comes back to reopen that little shop of horrors. And the goddess Ishtar statue infects him. And the results are exactly what you would think they would be. The difference is, of course, as Connie was pointing out, although we knew when we shot these early gore movies that it was tongue-in-cheek. Actually, I should say dung-in-cheek. The audiences at the time didn't have the demographic that we have now. Some of them, when people would come out of a theater having seen Blood Feast or 2000 Maniacs, everybody would say, oh, boy, did you see that? But it was two sides. Half the people who said that said, and I'm going to go see my lawyer and sue that theater. And the other half said, I got to tell my friends to come see it if I never saw anything like that. So we really had this dichotomy, this split of reaction where people didn't know what to make of it all. We caught the entire film industry unawares, which is why for a number of years we had the entire business to ourselves. Yes, sir. Is that a hand in the air, or do you want to leave the room?
You can go to the men's rooms right down this hall.
I think we're driving them there, if you can.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
go ahead, ask one,
No,
then we'll get started
sure.
with what else we're going to do here. Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
In his pan of 2000 Maniacs, Calvin Beck.
Brigadoon with serum, I guess you'd say. Yeah, it's a similar storyline in that respect.
Anybody else got a question?
It's been released in the last century. Purely by internet and by smart promotion, this movie got a big playoff. And of course, when they came out with Blair Witch 2, it died because the word was then out that the movie stank. But that wasn't the point. The point was that anybody with a camera, and not a movie camera, a beta, you can have a digi-beta movie, which, and if you make a bad take, you record right on top of it. You haven't wasted film. So a lot of people have started to make movies. And so this kind of thing is getting very crowded. The trick in movie making to me is distribution. I have always said, any schmuck can aim a camera. That does not require a lot of talent. What requires talent is to get either somebody in the seats in the theater, or to get some distributor to say, yeah, I'm going to put it in a box and distribute some DVDs. Because as everybody here knows, the days of the video cassette are going into eclipse at a rapid speed. We are really, we have rocketed through future shock and come out the other side. And the whole idea of a movie that runs between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours on a little disc like that, it boggles the mind. But it's easy to do. And there's a lot of competition out there. So if you are of a mind to make a movie, and one benefit of horror movies in general is they have what we call legs. They last. Some movies come out, high budget, $50 to $100 million. They strut and fret their hour upon the stage, and then within 2 years, nobody ever heard of them again. With some of these movies, 10, 20, 30, even 40 years later, they're still around. What a miracle. And they cost a lot less to make, and they have casts of nobodies, and produced by nobody. What's the secret? The secret is the type of movie in which it doesn't assume because you've got film or you've got tape that's run through a machine that the road is paved with gold. It isn't. The key is distribution, not production. That's a sad truth, but it is the truth of our business.
And a little personality. Some of the films you made, believe it or not, I feel had a little personality behind them. Today, sometimes that's why they die off quick. They have none of that personality behind them.
I'll accept that.
I'm an ego stroker. That's my job this weekend. Now, somebody else have a question?
A movie called Hairspray,
Mm-hmm.
put on Broadway. You think they ever did 2008?
As you know, John Waters is an old friend of mine. In fact, he has a bit part in Blood Feast 2.
Why don't we talk about that for a minute, Herschel? I was just going to bring that up.
Blood Feast 2, what am I going to say about it?
Well, I don't know. When did, who approached you? Did Jackie
Oh,
approach you?
well, yeah. The story of Blood Feast 2. For the last 25 years, people have been saying, let's make Blood Feast 2. It's almost become a joke. And I've developed, in fact, a defense mechanism against it because everybody would say something. And one thing you should know about the movie business, everybody talks. Everybody has a plan. Everybody has a script. Every cab driver in Los Angeles, as Connie will tell you, has a script. And is about to sell it to MGM, which means Maury's Grocery Market. But the gap between an idea and the execution of the idea is a gigantic gap. Most of these people are like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. I have an idea, let's put on a show. And the next thing are 3,000 people dancing around in sync. The reality is, people make an announcement and then don't follow through. So for years I've been hearing, let's make Blood Feast 2, and my defense was, put your deal together and call me. And that effectively got rid of everybody, except for one guy who called me one day and said, I have an idea, let's make Blood Feast 2. I said, put your deal together and call me. To my total astonishment, he put a deal together and he called me. Now, the story of Blood Feast 2 was not the one that I wanted to make as Blood Feast 2. But this was a professional script, professionally written, 100 pages long, and he sent me this script and he called and said, what do you think of it? I was stunned that he'd actually done this. I said, Jackie, the question I have is whether or not this script fits the contemporary mold. In my opinion, movies of this type, which we used to call gore movies, but now they're generically called splatter films, have gone beyond being deadly serious, and I think we ought to inject some black humor into this. He said, well, give me some ideas. Feeling like a total moron, I emailed him a long list of suggestions to throw into this movie. About a month later, I got another script, 120 pages, with all my ideas in it, and I said, this guy is serious. So last fall in New Orleans, where he lives, we shot Blood Feast 2, which is sort of a sequel to the original Blood Feast, in that the original Blood Feast, those of you who have seen it know that it's about a mad caterer, Fuad Ramses. A woman comes to him and says, Mr. Ramses, I would like to have a party for my daughter, but I don't want it to be like anybody else's party. Madam, have you ever had an Egyptian feast? Well, no, but has there been a party like that? Not for 5,000 years. And the parts of young maidens, hard to find in Miami, by the way, are cut up and cooked. Well, Blood Feast 2, Fuad Ramses' grandson reopens the shop, and where Fuad Ramses, the original, was infected by the goddess Ishtar, who is a blood goddess. Here is this statue of Ishtar, and of course the contemporary Ishtar has eyes that glow red. And he agrees to cater a wedding and proceeds to take care of all the bridesmaids for the wedding. But the difference between the original Blood Feast and Blood Feast 2, there are two differences. One, we had an effects person. In fact, Tom Savini, who's here, recommended the effects guy we had. So the effects are a lot more grisly than in the original Blood Feast. The second difference is that the idea was to keep the audience unsettled. So immediately following what might be considered a horrifying effect, there's something so ridiculously funny that the audience does not know whether to go, ah, or ah. And that was the intention behind it, and I think we've succeeded with that. And so that's, that movie probably will go into release or excretion sometime toward the end of this year. I'm pleased to tell you I have nothing to do with distribution of that movie. I directed it, I'm not the producer. And the movie business is based, as I said to you, on distribution. So no matter what I think of this movie, it could be the greatest movie since Ben-Hur, but who knows about it until it goes into release. We've screened it at a couple of film festivals, and the results of the reactions have been very, very encouraging.
I really enjoyed it. I happen to be lucky enough to see it. I have to admit that I enjoyed it.
You don't have to admit it. You can say it with some pride.
I'm proud of it. A lot of the things I watched. But, you know, in a follow-up to that, a lot of people have been talking about a supposed sequel to the 2000 Maniacs, 2001 Maniacs, which Herschell is not involved in.
No, there's some people in California, a fellow named Tim Sullivan, who says he's going to make 2001 Maniacs. But I've been hearing this now for 3 years from him, so it may or may not. Connie may know more about that than I do.
That's what I was following up, is Connie's been contacted about having a cameo or a small role in it if it gets off the ground. I know, you know, if it happens, I know, you know, the way we talk, that you're looking forward to it, so I hope it gets off the ground and everything works out with that too. So.
Well, we'll find out. As I say, the movie business is about 90% conversation, which is what we're having here. And I thank you all for having me have a good time.
Thank you. Yeah, what time is Dealer and what time does the show open?
11 to 5. Everybody come down 11 because they didn't get stuff back.
It's like that footage you see on the news, Caddy.
You're gonna let the public in at 11?
The public comes in at 11, so come on down about 15 minutes early.
Okay.
Connie, it's like that footage you see on the news, you know?
Yeah.
When people are like walking and stuff and you can't figure out how they filmed it.
Exactly.